Okay, performing P22 orbital navigation. So at this point, let me just turn my mic down a little bit. It's peaking. At this point, I'm in my desired ordeal attitude, and I'm holding orbit rate, which is 350. And the flight plan will usually tell you this, but it's pretty much always going to be 350. And the reason is when we get to our landmark, you'll see why. So I'll put up the landmark pad on the screen just to show you a little bit about it. And we can see here that our first landmark is going to be landmark 10. And this occurs spotted at the horizon will be around 122 hours, 18 minutes, and 33 seconds, plus some change that probably doesn't show up, some decimal. And at the 35-degree mark on the trunnion, we'll get the 122, 21, 32. And this is going to be 79 nautical miles south. And noun 89 will have these coordinates if our marks are correct. So this is essentially what that means. And I'll hide this for now. And we'll begin preparations for P22. So starting up, first thing you want to do is condition your optics. 0 switch off, on manual, into high. And you're also going to want this rate switch here to be high. And the reason is because we're going to be doing a 0.5 degree per second pitch. Part of the checklist, I find that sometimes that's not required, especially when you're in orbit of the moon. But you'll see, it's sort of subjective as long as you're marking the marks good. Now we'll do verb 37, enter, 22, enter. First two rows will be blank, and the bottom row shows the max MGA. Verb 06, noun 45. Now we'll hit proceed. And these are going to be the latitude and longitude of our marks. Verb 25, enter. And we enter in the latitude and longitude from the pad labeled here. So plus 29039, enter, minus 56292, enter, plus 00011, enter. Now, at some point in the future, there will be different things like enter known landmark, this and that. When you're in orbit of the moon, is it a phony landing site? Is it a known landmark, an unknown landmark? Things like that. And this is sort of the basics to help you along. The checklist will guide you through those additional steps very well, such that you shouldn't need an additional tutorial on it. But if it ever does appear, I'll send one. So now we'll manually position the trunnion to 35 degrees by holding W, and we'll get close to 35. Switch to low, and it's locked in. Good. At this point now, we can go optics mode to CMC. Now we're not going to hit proceed yet because, as you can see, we are still a little bit away from this landmark. So we'll bring it forward very slowly. We'll look at our optics and we can see that it is looking like it's sort of the right attitude now. Whereas before we were holding the same attitude, but it looked like looked like we were pointing straight down, right? And that's because we're holding it with orbit rate. So here we go. We're approaching 15, 16, and now at this point, I can hit proceed now that we're close to T1. We can see we are confirmed, and it's going to drive up to the horizon. We're not close yet, and you could tell because we're not having any landmarks showing up. But we're close enough that auto tracking is initiated, and when we get there, we'll know. So we'll hide that for now. We'll start coming forward. And we can see our landmark ID was landmark 10. I'll just a quick refresher. Landmark 10. And here it is on screen. Once we have it acquired, we can begin the 0.5 degree pitch down. Now again, this is not entirely accurate by any stretch of the imagination. As you can see, we're drifting a little bit away from it, but it's mostly good, so we'll go with it. Again, all subjective. We're going to manual, and we're going to take our marks. We can see we need to slow down the pitching. We got a program alarm because the computer had troubles tracking, but we're in. Now we'll drive to the landmark, and we're going to take a mark every 20 seconds. 5 marks every 20 seconds. So here, mark. So at 30 laps, we'll take another mark. Mark. And at 50 seconds, mark. So there's 3. Now at 10 seconds, mark. Now at 30 seconds. And you can see as the landmark sort of approaches us, we definitely need to speed that pitch down. Speed up that pitch down to keep up. As I said, it's whatever the checklist tells you is great and all, but as long as you keep the mark in sight, you'll do just fine. Here we can see it's driving very rapidly. So we'll get that sort of situated again. We'll come down and we'll take our last mark. Here we'll actually stop the settling. And we'll reacquire. For our last mark. Steady it up. As you can see, these marks are a little bit difficult around the Earth, but I think we got it. Now at this point, when you have all 5 of your marks in, you can proceed. And here is verify codes. So this is normally what's going to be put before the coordinates in the future. But here we can see the checklist just tells us to enter in the fact that this is a known landmark. Now we can hit proceed. Here is the entered latitude and longitude and altitude. And when we hit proceed again, we'll see our delta R, delta V, and this is sort of a little bit of how off we are. We can see our marks were very spot on. We'll hit proceed here. And there's sort of going to be a 20-second calculation coming in. And here it is, our final computed landmark coordinates. And we can see they're very, very close to what we entered in, minus a little bit of rounding error. And then this longitude over 2 seems to be just slightly off. But here, if we wanted to update our state vector with this information, we would hit proceed. Most of the times you're not going to do that unless your P22 navigation update has been incorrect. If it has been correct, verb 37, enter, 00, enter. And at that point, you can move on to your next landmark. And that next landmark is going to require you to be at ordeal 0, pitch 5, yaw 0. So roll 0, pitch 5, yaw 0. And you initiate orbit rate until the next landmark. But for us, I think that is plenty. I'm sort of running a little bit out of RCS gas due to not essentially concentrating on what I'm doing and sort of more focusing on the explanations. So I think we'll skip the next P22 just for gas saving measures. But thank you for watching.